Hey y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and today I have another Bible journaling process video for you from Camp Living Hope. I am diving into week 7 of Camp Living Hope, written by one of my favorite people, LaQuisha Hall, who is Confident Canvas here on YouTube and on Instagram. Definitely go give her a follow. I'm going to be journaling though in Psalm 16. I loved the introduction for week 7 written by Lisa Stander, and then there was a lot in here that was very convicting for me, and I cannot wait to do a little journaling. I feel like I could do about 47 pages all on week 7 of camp. There were some great things in here. So I have all of my goodies from camp pulled out. I'm not totally sure what I want to do quite yet, but we're just going to kind of dive in and see what comes of it. I will link things down below, any of the products or supplies and things like that I use, so you can check out those links in the description box of this video. Otherwise, I'm going to put you all on fast forward. Let's go. So truthfully, the inspiration for this particular Bible journaling spread were some of the words that LaQuisha had in her devotional. And they were words that I was feeling like I probably needed to read over and over again. And so in my head, I pictured them framed up in your room, on a mirror, something like that. And so what we're going to do with this particular Bible journaling entry is to create a frame on the page that is going to frame these words that I found really meaningful, that caused me to do some reflection within the devotional. So I'm marking out my frame with this gorgeous washi tape. I love this washi tape from Illustrated Faith that they released as part of Camp Living Hope. It is beautifully detailed. Love the colors for Camp Living Hope. This is just going to form our frame, our very ornate looking frame to get started. The next thing I want to do is do some stenciling. I love this kind of pinwheel. This isn't a pinwheel. These are kind of some wonky circles. I think they're so cute. Again, another stencil from Illustrated Faith, and I'm going to mix a couple of different distress oxides. We're going to go with weathered wood and then some speckled egg in there as well, just to kind of mix the two. I wanted a muted blue tone, I guess you would say, so the gray really brings it down a little bit. Just going with the gray really lightly into some of the circles. I did use pixie spray to keep the stencil in place. That works really well for me. You just spray it on the back of the stencil, let it dry for a second, and then put it down on your page. Keeps it in place to get a crisper image once you're stenciling. I have never found that it leaves any residue on the page. It's never been a big issue for me, so I use it over and over and over again. Absolutely love it. And then, of course, when you rinse off your stencil, once you're done, then the extra pixie spray will rinse off as well. I was definitely in the mood to use my inks in this case. So I'm coming through, trying to fill in those circles just a little bit more, pull it off. Gorgeous background. Again, we're kind of forming the background of an art piece. And now I'm wanting to add a little bit of a shadow edge around the whole inside just to bring the focus in. I feel like when you darken the edge, it's going to bring your focus into the middle. And of course, that is where I'm going to have LaQuisha's beautiful words written out, and I will read them to you in just a bit as I am writing them. So I have my rounded domed blending brush. This is from scrapbook.com. These work pretty well. It's been a long time. I haven't done a ton of ink blending recently. That is definitely a technique that I feel like is a use it or lose it kind of thing. So I need to work on it just a little bit more. You have to be very light-handed and patient when you're blending because you can always make it darker, but if you come in too heavy, you're going to end up with lines, which is what happens to me some of the time. Next, I'm going to come in with some of the stamps from the kit. I love this moth butterfly look, so we're going to add a little bit of that in the background. I'm using the speckled egg for that. I love tone on tone, and of course I have speckled egg in the background, so this is kind of, it just brings it out just a little bit. It's not a lot, just a little bit of extra impression here with the stamp. I kind of mess around where I want these, knowing that I'm going to have a lot of writing, knowing that I'm probably going to put something in the corners, and sometimes I stamp in advance, and sometimes it ends up getting covered up, and that's okay. If you are building in layers on a page, on a Bible journaling page, on any type of journaling page, sometimes some of the layers end up getting covered up, especially if you don't necessarily have a clear plan to start with, which of course is how I start most of my journaling pages. I just kind of go with it and see what happens. The stars I'm bringing in with the pink because there's some gorgeous pink in that washi tape, and I wanted to make sure to bring that in as well. So I'm going to nestle a few stars here and there around the butterflies, and then we're going to focus on what I can add to the different corners to bring some emphasis to them and some weight to the whole image that I have going on. Oh, I forgot. I did end up spraying this with just a little bit of water and then dabbing it with a paper towel. This pulls up some of the Distress Oxide color. It's very faint. It doesn't come across on camera, but it gives it a little bit more of a worn look, like a little more vintagey, which I very much appreciated. Now, I've said it before, this particular kit came with so many ephemera pieces, a ton. Plus, I got these extra florals from Illustrated Faith, so I wanted to go through, pick out some of the florals because I really loved how they looked. And I really liked that one in the bottom corner, but if I'm being honest, this kind of style, there were two kind of styles within the package. There were ones that were a little bit more realistic and then ones that looked a little bit more flat. So I liked the ones that had more shading, more realistic. I think they went with the washi tape better personally. I experimented a little and then decided I'm going to go with these two. And then I wanted to see how I could add something extra. I didn't want them to just lay flat on the page. I wanted to add a little something. And so I went into my stash. A lot of times in the spring, Illustrated Faith was releasing material along with their kits, just kind of coordinating material. I found a couple that I really liked in this bright green and the pink. I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine, turn those into ruffles, just like I did right there. How cute is that? So I was kind of testing the green versus the pink, and I ended up deciding to go with the pink. The green was just a little too wide. I think if I had cut that one in half, it would have worked really well, but the pink really fits nicely. So I'm going to cut this particular ruffle in half, use it on the top and the bottom just to add a little something extra. It's always nice to have those surprise elements. Yes, does it add bulk? Yes, of course it does. But that's one of the things I love about the spiral bound Bible is that you can add bulk and just kind of go with it. And I'm going to layer an ephemera behind it and an ephemera on top of it just to add some extra interest. Now, once I started positioning everything on the page, putting the ephemera down, and then I will eventually glue the material on top of it using Fabri-Tac, I thought that I needed some contrast. I needed some black and white in there just to make the colors stand out a little bit more. Sometimes I feel like if you don't have some bold strokes of black and white within a cluster, then everything feels very much the same. And I wanted to add a little bit of contrast. So I pulled out some of the stars from the ephemera sets that I could put around my material clusters. I will say I think it really did make a big difference adding those stars. That contrast really brought out some of the colors, helped them to pop a little bit. I was able to use the stars both on top of the fabric and behind the fabric. You'll see me continue to add stars all the way to the end. And for me personally, I really thought it brought the whole piece together really nicely. I'm also loving the ruffles. I forgot how much I do love incorporating fabric into my projects. I'm not a fabric person in that I don't sew hardly at all, but I love the look of fabric. And of course I love the texture and the feel and the dimension that it adds. So I was really pleased with how that came out in the end. See, I'm still pulling out stars, still adding them in, figuring out where I want it all to go for sure. I do end up popping up some of the stars using these foam adhesive dots. You can actually pick these up at the Dollar Tree, which is such a fabulous deal. So I picked them up from there. You can order them on Amazon as well, adding a few behind each star. And again, the extra dimension is just super fun to work with. So I'm going to get those in place. Then the next thing I need to do is go ahead and start working on the actual journaling. Like I said, I was pulling words that LaQuisha wrote in her devotional. The section I'm quoting reads like this. How can you effectively demonstrate God's love if you don't take care of your heart? How can you share God's joy if you cannot remember the last time you experienced it? How can you share God's peace if you cannot remember the last time you felt it? And how can you share God's hope if you do not see it in your own forward-moving journey? Really moving words, and I chose to write them next to Psalm 16, verse 11, where it says, "You reveal the path of life to me. In your presence is abundant joy. At your right hand are eternal pleasures." And that is going to be it for this Bible journaling process video. Let me know what you think below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. Like I said before, I will link all of these supplies down below. Most of them are from Illustrated Faith. Remember, Illustrated Faith has both a physical side where you can order physical products, and then they have a digital side where you can get some digital downloads and print at home. Both are fantastic. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon community. Thank you all for all of your support. We're having a fabulous time. Lots of fun things going on over on Patreon, and I hope you'll take a chance, go click the link down below, see what there is to offer, and maybe start your free trial today. All right, I hope that you all have an absolutely fabulous day. And as always, keep it creative.